She left with everything that mattered to me, our 2 kids, our savings, and every ounce of trust I thought we'd built over 17 years. The words hung in the air of my empty kitchen, a hollow echo of a life I no longer recognized. My name is Jack Rearden, 47 years old, a former Marine Corps combat engineer who thought he understood survival, until the day my own family became the battlefield. The morning started like any other. I'd been working as a site supervisor for Granite State Construction, the same job I'd transitioned to after 15 years of military service. My hands, calloused from years of military and construction work, still moved with the precision of a man who'd spent his life building and rebuilding. The coffee was strong, black, just like I'd learned to drink it in the Marines. Sarah, my wife of 17 years, had already left for her job at Maverick Technologies, where she worked as a senior marketing coordinator. Our kids, Michael, 15, and Emma, 12, were the center of my world. Michael was following in my footsteps, showing an interest in engineering, while Emma was a budding artist who could spend hours sketching in her notebook. I'd always prided myself on being a present father, unlike my own dad, who was more absent than not. The military had taught me discipline, but my kids taught me what really mattered. Looking back, I should have seen the signs. Sarah had been different for months. Late-night calls, hushed conversations, a sudden interest in her appearance that went beyond our usual routine. But I'd chalked it up to work stress, to the pressures of maintaining a career while managing a family. We'd weathered tough times before. My 2 deployments to Afghanistan, the financial struggles when I first left the military, the years of building our life together. It was a Wednesday when everything changed. I'd come home early from a job site, a rare occurrence given my typically long hours. The house was too quiet. No sounds of Michael's video games, no music from Emma's room, no bustling of Sarah preparing dinner, just silence. My military training kicked in. Something was wrong. I checked my phone. 3 missed messages from Sarah, each more cryptic than the last. "Jack, we need to talk. I can't do this anymore. The kids are safe." Those last 3 words hit me like shrapnel. Why would she feel the need to tell me the kids were safe? My heart rate increased, a familiar rush I hadn't felt since my last tour. I called her number, straight to voicemail, then Michael's, then Emma's. Nothing. It took me 3 hours to piece together what had happened. A call to Michael's school revealed he'd been checked out early. Emma's art class confirmed the same. Sarah's colleague at Maverick Technologies, a woman named Linda, who I'd met at company events, finally broke the silence. "She's moved in with Greg," Linda said, her voice a mix of sympathy and professional distance. Greg Harrison, the CEO of Maverick Technologies. A man I'd met twice, who'd always seemed too interested in Sarah's career, who'd sent her on special projects, who'd been a constant presence in her professional life. The details came flooding in. Sarah had been planning this for months. She'd transferred funds from our joint account, arranged for the kids' enrollment in a new school in Boston, and lined up a new lease. All while I was working, providing, believing in the life we'd built together. My military pension, my construction salary, the careful savings we'd accumulated, all meticulously planned for our family's future, had become her exit strategy. The same precision I'd used to clear roadside explosives, she'd used to dismantle our life. The house, once a home filled with laughter and memories, now felt like an empty shell. Photographs of happier times, our wedding, the kids' birthdays, family vacations seemed to mock me from every wall. 17 years reduced to a carefully orchestrated departure. I'd survived combat zones, rebuilt infrastructure in war-torn regions, navigated impossible terrains, both literal and metaphorical. But nothing had prepared me for this particular battlefield. A war fought not with bullets, but with betrayal, with calculated moves that targeted the very foundation of my existence. As the evening settled, casting long shadows across the living room, I realized something fundamental had changed. This wasn't just about a wife leaving or a marriage ending. This was about a systematic destruction of everything I believed I understood, about loyalty, about family, about trust, and I was going to find out exactly why. The next morning, I was a man with a mission. My military training had taught me that information is the most strategic weapon. I started methodically, gathering every piece of digital evidence I could find. Sarah had been careless, leaving her laptop in the home office. Her email was still logged in, a mistake that would prove costly. I discovered a trail of communications that painted a clear picture. Emails dating back 8 months showed a progression from professional correspondence to something deeply personal. Greg Harrison hadn't just been Sarah's boss. He'd been systematically dismantling our marriage, one carefully crafted interaction at a time. Their conversations revealed a calculated approach, late-night strategy meetings that never appeared on official calendars, expense reports for out-of-town conferences where they were the only attendees, shared documents with timestamps that stretched well beyond normal business hours. Each piece of evidence was another nail in the coffin of my previous life, but I needed more than just digital breadcrumbs. I reached out to my network, a group of veterans and former military colleagues who understood the meaning of brotherhood and strategic planning. Mike Calloway, a former intelligence officer who now ran a private security firm, agreed to meet me at our usual coffee spot. "You're not just looking for evidence," Mike said, sliding a manila folder across the table. "You're building a case." Inside were background checks on Greg Harrison. His history wasn't clean. 2 previous sexual harassment complaints had been settled out of court. Corporate records showed a pattern of inappropriate relationships with subordinates. The most damning evidence came from an unexpected source. Linda, Sarah's colleague who had initially informed me about the move, reached out with a warning. "Greg has a history of targeting successful women in the company," she told me during a hushed phone call. "He promises career advancement, but it's always about control." I discovered that Greg had been instrumental in Sarah's recent promotion, a move that had seemed like a career breakthrough at the time. Now it looked like a calculated seduction, using professional advancement as a tool of manipulation. My next step was financial. I pulled out bank statements, credit card records, and tracked every transaction. The pattern was clear: expensive dinners, hotel charges, travel expenses, all carefully hidden under corporate expense accounts. Greg wasn't just having an affair with my wife. He was using company resources to do it. But the children were my primary concern. I needed to understand how Sarah could take Michael and Emma away from everything they knew. School records, text message histories, social media interactions. I combed through everything, looking for signs of manipulation or coercion. Michael's messages revealed a conflicted teenager. Texts to his friends showed confusion, a sense of being caught between loyalty to me and the new situation. Emma's communications were more innocuous, mostly art-related posts and messages with friends, but there was an underlying tension I could now recognize. I contacted my attorney, Rebecca Stern, a former military lawyer who had helped veterans navigate complex legal battles. "This isn't just about divorce," I told her. "This is about protecting my children's future." Rebecca's investigation revealed additional layers. Greg's company had a history of aggressive corporate tactics. He had a reputation for breaking up families to maintain control over key employees. Sarah wasn't the first wife to be relocated, to have her entire life restructured for corporate ambition. The pieces were coming together, but I knew this was just the beginning. I wasn't looking for revenge. I was looking for justice, for my children, for the life we had built, for the trust that had been so carelessly destroyed. My military training had taught me that every mission requires patience, strategy, and an unwavering commitment to the objective. I would gather every piece of evidence, build an impenetrable case, and ensure that Sarah and Greg understood the full consequences of their actions. The house was quiet. But my mind was anything but. Each document, each piece of evidence was a weapon, and I was just getting started. The legal battle began in earnest 2 weeks after Sarah's departure. Rebecca Stern had prepared a comprehensive strategy that would make my military tactical planning look simplistic by comparison. We weren't just fighting a divorce. We were exposing a calculated corporate predation that had torn my family apart. Our first move targeted Greg Harrison directly. A forensic audit of Maverick Technologies revealed a pattern of corporate misconduct that went far beyond a simple workplace affair. Financial records showed multiple instances of corporate funds being used to facilitate personal relationships, with Sarah being just the latest in a long line of manipulated employees. I reached out to other families affected by Greg's actions. 3 other women had been relocated, their marriages destroyed under similar circumstances. Each story followed an identical pattern: professional advancement promised, personal lives dismantled, families torn apart. These weren't just coincidences. This was a systematic approach to corporate control. My children became my primary concern. Michael and Emma were staying with Sarah in a corporate-provided apartment in Boston, their lives completely upended.
Zasanjanat Gas Dorjode, the Wallafite Gutzak, and Simhahimin, Servat and I were Hiki, a mirror of what Tanda, a Sabri.
History. Maverick Technologies had a reputation for aggressive expansion, but the methods were more insidious than I'd initially understood. Greg had a network of corporate lawyers who had successfully buried previous complaints, using non-disclosure agreements and settlement packages to silence potential whistleblowers. My veteran network proved invaluable. Mike Calloway's security firm began gathering additional intelligence. We discovered that Greg had a pattern of targeting mid-level employees with specific profiles: married women with children, those with limited professional mobility, those who could be easily manipulated with promises of career advancement. Rebecca filed a unique lawsuit that combined multiple legal strategies. We weren't just pursuing a standard divorce proceeding. The complaint detailed corporate misconduct, intentional interference with family relationships, and a systematic approach to employee manipulation. The goal was to expose the entire mechanism, not just win a personal battle. Financial records became our primary weapon. I'd spent years building my construction company, understanding every minute detail of project management and financial tracking. Those same skills now became crucial in dissecting Greg's corporate strategy. We found discrepancies in expense reports, unauthorized use of corporate resources, and a pattern of manipulating employee relationships for corporate gain. The most challenging aspect was maintaining my composure. Every instinct from my military training screamed for immediate action, for confrontation. But strategy required patience. Each piece of evidence, each carefully documented interaction, was a precision instrument designed to dismantle Greg's carefully constructed facade. My children's welfare was always the primary objective. I hired a child psychologist specializing in parental relocation cases. Dr. Elena Rodriguez began building a comprehensive assessment of the psychological impact on Michael and Emma. Her initial report was damning. The sudden relocation, the complete separation from their established life, the manipulation they were experiencing, all pointed to significant emotional trauma. 3 months into the investigation, we got our first major breakthrough: a former Maverick Technologies employee, Sarah's previous supervisor, agreed to provide a detailed statement. Her testimony revealed a systematic approach of corporate manipulation that went beyond individual cases. Greg had been using professional advancement as a tool of personal control for years. The legal strategy was multifaceted. We weren't just fighting for divorce or custody. We were exposing a corporate culture of manipulation. Rebecca prepared documentation that would not just impact my personal case, but potentially trigger broader corporate investigations. My construction company became my anchor during this period. I'd built Granite State Construction on principles of integrity, of building something real and lasting. Those same principles would guide me through this battle. My team rallied around me, understanding that this was more than just a personal legal battle. This was about exposing a fundamental breach of professional and personal trust. The most difficult moments came in the quiet times. Walking through the house that was now empty, seeing Michael's abandoned science project, Emma's art supplies left untouched. These were the casualties of a war fought not with weapons, but with corporate manipulation and personal betrayal. As the investigation continued, I realized this was about more than just my family. This was about exposing a systemic issue of corporate predation, of the ways powerful individuals can destroy personal lives under the guise of professional opportunity. My military training had taught me that every mission has multiple objectives. Winning wasn't just about personal victory. It was about exposing a broader truth, about protecting others who might fall victim to the same tactics. The battle was just beginning, and I was prepared to see it through to the end. The courtroom felt like another battlefield, one where precision and strategy would determine everything. I sat beside Rebecca Stern, my legal counsel who had become more than just an attorney. She was a strategic partner in a war that extended far beyond personal betrayal. The preliminary hearing was just the first salvo in what promised to be a protracted legal campaign. Greg Harrison arrived with a team of corporate lawyers, each of them exuding the kind of calculated confidence that comes from years of burying uncomfortable truths. But they didn't know the depth of our preparation. We weren't just fighting a divorce case. We were dismantling an entire system of corporate manipulation. Dr. Elena Rodriguez's psychological evaluation of the children became our most powerful weapon. Her report detailed the traumatic impact of Sarah and Greg's actions, the sudden relocation, the psychological pressure on Michael and Emma, the complete disruption of their established support systems. Each page was a carefully constructed argument that went beyond typical custody disputes. The financial forensics we'd uncovered painted an even more damning picture. Maverick Technologies had a pattern of relocating employees, using corporate resources to facilitate personal relationships and systematically breaking up families. Greg wasn't just having an affair. He was running a calculated system of personal and professional control. My veteran network proved invaluable. Mike Calloway had compiled a dossier on Greg that would make intelligence agencies proud. Previous complaints, settled out of court, showed a consistent pattern of workplace predation. Women who had been previously manipulated began coming forward, their stories creating a tapestry of corporate abuse that extended far beyond my personal situation. The turning point came unexpectedly. A junior executive from Maverick Technologies reached out anonymously. She had documentation of internal communications that suggested Greg's actions were not just personal indiscretions, but a systematic approach to employee control. Email chains, internal memos, expense reports. Each document was another nail in the corporate coffin. Michael contacted me directly for the first time in months. The call was brief, tense, filled with the kind of emotional complexity that comes from a teenager, caught between loyalty and truth. "Dad," he said, his voice breaking, "something isn't right." Those 5 words carried the weight of everything we'd been fighting for. Rebecca's legal strategy was multi-layered. We weren't just pursuing a standard divorce and custody case. The lawsuit encompassed corporate misconduct, intentional interference with family relationships, and a broader pattern of workplace manipulation. Each legal motion was designed to expose the deeper systemic issues. The discovery process became our primary battlefield. corporate communications, expense reports, travel records. Each document revealed another layer of Greg's calculated approach. We discovered he had a history of targeting specific employees, using professional advancement as a tool of personal manipulation. My construction company became an unexpected source of strength. The team I'd built over years understood loyalty in a way that corporate culture never could. They rallied around me, providing support that went beyond professional courtesy. Each project became a reminder of what I was fighting for: integrity, family, the fundamental right to build something meaningful. The psychological toll was significant. Nights were the hardest. The empty house echoed with memories of family dinners, of Michael's science projects, of Emma's artwork. But each memory became fuel for the fight. I wasn't just battling for a legal victory. I was fighting to expose a system that destroys families under the guise of professional opportunity. Greg's legal team attempted multiple strategies to derail our case. They tried to paint me as an unstable veteran, to suggest that my military background made me unfit for custody. Each attempt backfired spectacularly. My service records, my consistent involvement in my children's lives, stood in stark contrast to their manufactured narrative. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Sarah, under mounting pressure and faced with the comprehensive evidence we'd assembled, began to waver. The carefully constructed facade of her new life with Greg was crumbling. Her communications with the children became increasingly strained, the corporate manufactured romance revealing its true, hollow nature. Our investigation had uncovered a network of similar cases. Greg wasn't an isolated predator. He was part of a broader corporate culture that viewed employees as resources to be manipulated, families as collateral damage in the pursuit of professional advancement. Each deposition, each piece of evidence was designed to expose this systemic issue. Michael's testimony became a turning point. Brought in to provide a statement, he revealed the increasing tension in his new living situation. The promises of a better life, the corporate-sponsored relocation, were revealing themselves as nothing more than a carefully constructed lie. His words carried the weight of teenage disillusionment and a growing understanding of the truth. The legal battle was never just about me or my family. It was about exposing a fundamental breach of trust. A corporate culture that views human relationships as negotiable commodities. Each document, each testimony was a strike against a system that prioritizes professional manipulation over human dignity. As the case progressed, I realized the true mission. Winning wasn't about personal victory. It was about creating a precedent, about protecting others who might fall victim to similar corporate tactics. My military training had taught me that true victory extends far beyond the immediate battlefield. The final hearing approached. Everything we'd worked for, every piece of evidence carefully assembled, was about to be put to the ultimate test. The courtroom would become our proving ground, the place where truth would finally have its moment, and I was prepared to see it through to the end. The final hearing arrived like a gathering storm. Federal District Court in Boston became our arena, a place where years of pain, betrayal, and strategic planning would converge. Rebecca Stern sat beside me, her presence a testament to the meticulous preparation we'd undertaken over the past 8 months. Greg Harrison arrived looking diminished. The confident corporate executive had been stripped away, revealing a man who understood the full weight of his actions was about to crash down upon him. Maverick Technologies' legal team looked nervous, their previously impenetrable facade now riddled with cracks we'd methodically created. Our case was unprecedented. It wasn't just a divorce proceeding or a custody battle. We transformed it into a comprehensive exposure of corporate misconduct, workplace manipulation, and systematic destruction of family units. The evidence we'd gathered went far beyond personal betrayal. It was a systemic indictment of a corporate culture that viewed employees as disposable resources. The first witness was Dr. Elena Rodriguez. Her psychological evaluation of Michael and Emma was devastating. She detailed the trauma of sudden relocation, the psychological manipulation they'd experienced, the deliberate disruption of their support systems. Each word was a surgical strike. Against Greg's defense, forensic financial experts followed, meticulously breaking down the corporate expenses, the unauthorized use of company resources, the pattern of relocating and manipulating employees. Expense reports, travel records, internal communications, each document told a story of calculated corporate predation. Then came the unexpected witness. A former Maverick Technologies employee, Jennifer Ramirez, provided testimony that sent shockwaves through the courtroom. She detailed a pattern of workplace manipulation that extended far beyond my case. Greg had a history of targeting specific employees, using professional advancement as a tool of personal control. Michael's testimony became the most powerful moment. At 15, he spoke with a clarity and emotional intelligence that belied his age. He described the pressure, the manipulation, the slow realization that the corporate-sponsored move was built on a foundation of lies. His words were a devastating indictment of both his mother's choices and Greg's corporate tactics. The legal strategy we'd developed was multifaceted. We weren't just seeking divorce or custody. We were pursuing multiple legal avenues: corporate misconduct investigation, intentional interference with family relationships, misuse of corporate resources, psychological damage to minor children. Greg's legal team attempted desperate counterstrikes. They tried to paint me as an unstable veteran, to suggest my military background made me unfit for custody. Each attempt backfired spectacularly. My service records, my consistent involvement in my children's life, stood in stark contrast to their manufactured narrative. Sarah's testimony was the most fragile moment. Under oath, she began to unravel. The carefully constructed narrative of professional opportunity and personal liberation crumbled. Her interactions with Greg, once portrayed as a transformative relationship, now appeared as nothing more than a calculated corporate manipulation. The most devastating evidence came from internal Maverick Technologies communications, email chains, internal memos, expense reports. Each document revealed a systemic approach to employee control. Greg wasn't an isolated incident. He was a symptom of a broader corporate culture that viewed human relationships as negotiable commodities. My construction company had become my anchor during this process. The team I'd built understood loyalty in a way corporate culture never could. They provided support that went beyond professional courtesy, demonstrating the kind of genuine human connection that Greg's corporate world fundamentally misunderstood. The turning point came unexpectedly. A junior executive from Maverick Technologies provided additional testimony, revealing a network of similar cases. Greg's actions weren't an isolated incident, but part of a calculated corporate strategy of employee manipulation. As the hearing progressed, it became clear we were fighting for something larger than my personal situation. This was about exposing a system that prioritizes corporate advancement over human dignity, that views families as collateral damage in the pursuit of professional goals. The judge's questioning became increasingly pointed. What had initially seemed like a standard divorce case had transformed into a comprehensive investigation of corporate misconduct. Greg Harrison sat visibly deflated, the once powerful CEO now appearing small and exposed. My veteran network had been instrumental. Mike Calloway's investigative work, the connections we'd made, the additional witnesses we'd uncovered, each piece of evidence was a precision instrument designed to dismantle Greg's carefully constructed facade. The psychological impact on Michael and Emma became our most compelling argument. They weren't just casualties of a divorce. They were victims of a calculated corporate strategy that viewed human relationships as negotiable resources to be manipulated and discarded. As the hearing entered its final stages, I realized the true mission extended far beyond personal victory. We were creating a precedent, establishing a legal framework that would protect other families from similar corporate predation. My military training had taught me that true victory often comes from exposing systemic failures. The courtroom fell, silent. Years of pain, betrayal, and strategic planning had converged in this moment. Everything we'd worked for, every piece of evidence carefully assembled, was about to be put to the ultimate test. The final judgment approached, and I was ready for whatever would come next. The verdict came down like thunder, not just a legal decision, but a transformative moment that would reshape everything I understood about family, corporate ethics, and personal resilience. The judge's ruling was unprecedented, a comprehensive dismantling of Greg Harrison's corporate manipulation that extended far beyond my personal case. Full custody was granted to me, with strict limitations on Sarah's visitation rights. The court's findings detailed a systematic pattern of corporate misconduct that went beyond typical workplace relationships. Maverick Technologies would be subject to a federal investigation, with Greg Harrison facing potential criminal charges for corporate malfeasance. The financial settlement was equally decisive. Sarah would receive minimal support, most of her assets frozen pending the broader corporate investigation. The prenuptial agreement we'd signed years ago became our salvation, a document that would protect our children's future from the corporate predation that had nearly destroyed our family. Michael and Emma's reunion with me was not instantaneous. Healing takes time, especially when betrayal runs so deep. Dr. Rodriguez recommended a carefully managed reintegration process, understanding the psychological trauma they'd experienced. Those first weeks were delicate, conversations filled with hesitation, with the slow rebuilding of trust. My construction company became our sanctuary. Granite State Construction was more than a business. It was a testament to integrity, to building something real and lasting. Michael began spending time on job sites, his engineering interests blossoming under the guidance of men who understood what true mentorship looked like. Emma found her voice through art. The trauma she'd experienced transformed into powerful, artistic expression. Her drawings became a form of therapy, capturing the complexity of family, betrayal, and ultimately, resilience. I watched her heal, one brushstroke at a time. The broader impact of our case became clear in the months that followed. Other families came forward, inspired by our fight. Maverick Technologies faced a class action lawsuit that would ultimately lead to its restructuring. Greg Harrison's career was effectively destroyed, his network of corporate manipulation dismantled piece by piece. Sarah attempted reconciliation, but the damage was irreparable. Her calls became less frequent, her attempts to reconnect increasingly desperate. The corporate dream she'd pursued had crumbled, leaving her with nothing of the life she'd tried to construct. Our veteran network became our strongest support system. Mike Calloway and others who understood the meaning of loyalty rallied around us. They were more than friends. They were family in the truest sense, a brotherhood that extended beyond military service. The psychological recovery was a journey. Dr. Rodriguez worked closely with Michael and Emma, helping them process the betrayal, the sudden relocation, the manipulation they'd experienced. Family therapy became our weekly ritual, a time to rebuild, to understand, to heal. My construction company underwent its own transformation. The publicity from our case brought unexpected opportunities. Clients were drawn to our story of integrity, of standing up against corporate manipulation. Granite State Construction became more than a business. It became a symbol of resilience. Michael's passion for engineering blossomed. The trauma he'd experienced transformed into a determination to understand systems, to build something meaningful. He began working alongside me, learning not just the technical skills of construction, but the deeper lessons of integrity and perseverance. Emma discovered her own strength. Her art became a form of communication, a way to process the complex emotions of our journey. Local galleries began showing her work, recognizing the depth of emotion captured in her pieces. The legal victory was more than personal. We'd exposed a systemic issue of corporate manipulation, created a precedent that would protect other families. Each deposition, each piece of evidence, had been a strike against a system that viewed human relationships as negotiable commodities. 1. Year after the initial hearing, we found a new normal. Our home was no longer a place of pain, but a sanctuary of rebuilding. The empty spaces once filled with betrayal were now alive with possibility, with the sound of Michael's engineering projects, with Emma's artwork, with the quiet strength of our rebuilt family. I reflected on the journey during quiet moments. The military had taught me about mission, about strategic thinking, about standing up against impossible odds. But nothing had prepared me for this battle. A fight for family, for integrity, for the fundamental right to build something meaningful. The veterans who supported me understood something profound. Loyalty isn't about blind faith. It's about standing up when everything seems lost, about protecting those who cannot protect themselves. My fellow veterans had been my lifeline, my support system, my reminder that true strength comes from community. Granite State Construction continued to grow, but it was more than a business now. It was a testament to what can be built when integrity meets determination. Michael began taking on more responsibilities, his engineering skills growing alongside his understanding of leadership. Emma's art gained recognition. Her exhibitions became a powerful statement, not of victimhood, but of transformation. Each piece told a story of resilience, of finding beauty in the aftermath of destruction. The corporate world had tried to break us. Instead, they'd given us a platform, an opportunity to rebuild on our own terms. Greg Harrison's attempt to manipulate our lives had backfired spectacularly. We weren't just survivors. We were architects of our own future. As I watched Michael and Emma working on a weekend project, him designing, her sketching, I understood the true victory. It wasn't about winning a legal battle. It was about rebuilding, about showing that family is something you fight for, something you construct with care, with love, with unwavering determination. We had survived. We had thrived. And our story was just beginning. 5 years had passed since the day everything changed. The landscape of our lives had transformed so completely that the pain of those early days seemed like a distant memory, a story belonging to someone else. Granite State Construction had grown beyond my wildest expectations, becoming a beacon of integrity in an industry often plagued by cutthroat competition. Michael was now a junior partner in the company, his engineering skills complementing the strategic vision we'd built together. At 20, he'd already developed a reputation for innovative problem-solving, a trait that both honored and expanded upon the foundation I'd created. His approach to construction was methodical, precise, a perfect blend of my military discipline and his generation's creative thinking. Emma had become a nationally recognized artist, her work exploring themes of resilience, transformation, and healing. Her exhibitions drew crowds who were captivated not just by her technical skill, but by the profound emotional depth of her pieces. She transformed our family's most painful moment into a powerful narrative of survival and growth. The corporate landscape had changed dramatically in the wake of our legal battle. Maverick Technologies had been dismantled, its leadership facing significant legal consequences. Greg Harrison had become a cautionary tale in business schools, a prime example of how corporate manipulation ultimately destroys everything it touches. Our veteran support network had become more than just a lifeline. It was a thriving community of support and mutual growth. Mike Calloway had expanded his private security firm, focusing on corporate ethics and employee protection. Many of the connections we'd made during our fight had transformed into lasting relationships, a testament to the power of true brotherhood. The psychological healing had been a journey of its own. Dr. Rodriguez continued to work with our family, helping us process the long-term impacts of betrayal and reconstruction. What had begun as a painful chapter had become a story of remarkable resilience, of finding strength in the most unexpected places. Sarah had disappeared from our lives, a choice we'd collectively made. Her attempts at reconnection had been minimal, sporadic, and ultimately futile. The corporate dream she'd pursued had crumbled, leaving her with nothing of the life she'd tried to construct. Our home had become a sanctuary of creativity and possibility. The empty spaces once filled with betrayal were now alive with potential. Weekend family dinners became a ritual of connection, of sharing, of rebuilding. Michael would discuss his latest engineering projects. Emma would share insights from her art world, and I would listen, truly listen, in a way I never had before. The legal precedent we'd set had far-reaching implications. Other families came forward, inspired by our fight. Corporate accountability became more than just a buzzword. It became a tangible expectation. Our case had exposed the deep-seated issues of workplace manipulation, creating a framework for protecting employee rights and family integrity. Michael's approach to the construction business was revolutionary. He developed a software platform that increased transparency in project management, a direct response to the corporate manipulation we'd experienced. The platform became an industry standard, forcing greater accountability in an industry often shrouded in opacity. Emma's art had become more than a personal expression. It was a powerful social commentary. Her exhibitions toured national galleries, each piece telling a story of transformation, of finding beauty in the aftermath of destruction. She'd turned our most painful moment into a universal narrative of hope and resilience. The veteran community continued to be our strongest support system. We'd created a foundation that supported veterans transitioning to civilian life, focusing on mental health, professional development, and family support. What had begun as our personal battle had transformed into a broader mission of support and empowerment. My relationship with Michael and Emma had deepened in ways I could never have imagined. The betrayal that had threatened to destroy us had ultimately brought us closer together. We'd learned to communicate with honesty, with vulnerability, with a depth of understanding that most families never achieve. Granite State Construction had become more than a business. It was a testament to integrity, to building something meaningful. We'd expanded into sustainable construction, focusing on projects that not only met economic needs, but also addressed environmental challenges. Michael's engineering innovations had positioned us at the forefront of a new approach to construction. The legal victory had been about more than personal vindication. We'd exposed a systemic issue of corporate manipulation, created a precedent that would protect other families. Each piece of evidence had been a strike against a system that viewed human relationships as negotiable commodities. Our story had become an inspiration for others facing similar challenges. Speaking engagements, documentary features, books, our journey had become a powerful narrative of resilience. But we remained grounded, understanding that our strength came not from the publicity, but from our commitment to each other. The memories of those dark days remained, but they no longer defined us. They were simply a part of our story, a chapter that had shaped us but did not control us. We had transformed pain into possibility, betrayal into strength. As I watched Michael and Emma working together on a weekend project, him designing, her capturing the process through her art, I understood the true victory. It wasn't about winning a legal battle or achieving professional success. It was about building something real, something lasting, something that transcended the challenges we'd faced. We had survived, we had thrived, and our story was far from over. The future stretched before us, a landscape of possibility, of continued growth, of unwavering hope. We were no longer defined by what had been done to us, but by what we had chosen to become. 10 years had passed since the day that changed everything. The world had transformed around us, but the core of our family remained unbreakable. Sitting in my office at Granite State Construction, I reflected on the journey that had brought us here, a path of resilience, transformation, and unexpected triumph. Michael was now a renowned engineer, his innovations in sustainable construction earning international recognition. At 30, he'd become more than just my son. He was a partner, a visionary who had taken the foundation I'd built and expanded it beyond anything I could have imagined. His work wasn't just about building structures, it was about creating solutions that addressed global challenges. Emma had become a globally recognized artist, her work transcending traditional boundaries. Her exhibitions now explored complex themes of family, betrayal, reconstruction, and hope. Museums around the world curated her collections, each piece telling a story of transformation that resonated far beyond our personal experience. The corporate landscape we'd fought against had been permanently altered. The legal precedent set by our case had become a turning point in how businesses approached employee relationships, corporate ethics, and personal boundaries. What had begun as our personal battle had become a catalyst for systemic change. Our veteran support network had evolved into a powerful organization. The foundation we'd established now supported hundreds of veterans annually, providing resources for mental health, professional development, and family support. Mike Calloway had expanded the initiative beyond our initial vision, creating a comprehensive support system that addressed the holistic needs of veterans transitioning to civilian life. The memories of Sarah and Greg had faded to footnotes in our larger narrative. Their attempt to destroy our family had ultimately become the catalyst for our greatest strengths. The betrayal that was meant to break us had instead forged us into something unbreakable. Technology had become a significant part of our story. Michael's software platform for transparent project management had revolutionized the construction industry. What had begun as a response to corporate manipulation had become a global standard, forcing unprecedented levels of accountability in business operations. Emma's art had become more than a personal expression. It was a global movement. Her work explored the complexities of modern family dynamics, corporate culture, and personal resilience. She'd transformed our most painful moment into a universal narrative that spoke to people across cultures and backgrounds. Our approach to family had been completely redefined. The traditional notions of marriage, loyalty, and success had been dismantled and rebuilt on a foundation of genuine connection, mutual respect, and unwavering support. We'd learned that family is not about biological connections, but about chosen loyalty and mutual growth. The legal battle we'd fought had become a landmark case studied in law schools and business programs. Our story was now a case study in corporate ethics, personal resilience, and the power of strategic thinking. Professors used our experience to teach students about the importance of integrity, transparency, and human dignity. Michael's work in sustainable construction had positioned Granite State Construction at the forefront of global environmental solutions. His engineering innovations addressed critical challenges in urban development, renewable energy, and ecological preservation. The company was no longer just a construction firm. It was a solution provider for global challenges. Emma's artistic journey had taken her around the world. Her exhibitions explored themes of healing, transformation, and the complex nature of human relationships. She'd become a voice for those who had experienced betrayal, using art as a medium to explore deeper emotional landscapes. Our veteran support network had expanded globally. What had begun as a local initiative now supported veterans in multiple countries, providing comprehensive resources for mental health, professional development, and family support. The foundation we'd created had become a blueprint for holistic veteran support. The technology Michael had developed continued to evolve. His platform for transparent project management had expanded beyond construction, becoming a critical tool for accountability in various industries. What had begun as a personal response to corporate manipulation had become a global standard for ethical business practices. Our family dynamic had become a model of modern connection. We'd learned to communicate with unprecedented depth and honesty. The betrayal we'd experienced had taught us the value of genuine connection, of choosing each other every single day. The world had changed dramatically in the decades since our legal battle. Digital technology, global challenges, and shifting social dynamics had transformed every aspect of professional and personal life. Yet our core values remained unchanged: integrity, resilience, mutual support. Michael's work in sustainable construction had become increasingly critical. As global environmental challenges intensified, his innovative approaches to urban development and renewable energy became increasingly vital. Granite State Construction was no longer just a local firm, it was a global solution provider. Emma's artistic journey had expanded beyond traditional boundaries. Her work now explored complex, global narratives, using art as a medium to address social challenges, personal transformation, and human resilience. Museums and galleries around the world sought her collections. Our veteran support network had become a global movement. The foundation we'd established now supported veterans across multiple continents, providing comprehensive resources that addressed the holistic needs of those transitioning to civilian life. What had begun as our personal mission had become a global initiative. Reflecting on our journey, I understood that our strength had never been about winning a legal battle or achieving professional success. Our true victory was in how we had chosen to respond to betrayal, with integrity, with creativity, with an unwavering commitment to growth and possibility. As I watched Michael and Emma collaborating on a new project, he providing engineering insights, she capturing the process through her art, I realized our story was far from over. We were still building, still growing, still transforming. The future stretched before us, a landscape of endless possibility, of continued growth, of hope that knew no boundaries. 15 years had passed since that pivotal moment that had reshaped our entire existence. The world had changed dramatically, but the core of our family's resilience remained unshaken. From my study overlooking the Granite State Construction Campus, I watched the legacy we'd built continue to evolve, transform, and inspire. Michael, now 35, had become a global leader in sustainable urban development. His innovations went far beyond traditional construction, addressing critical challenges of climate change, urban population growth, and sustainable infrastructure. The company we'd started had transformed into a global solution provider, with projects spanning continents, addressing some of the most pressing environmental challenges of our time. Emma, at 32, had become more than an artist. She was a cultural chronicler, using her work to explore the complex narratives of modern human experience. Her exhibitions now traveled the world, not just as art installations, but as immersive experiences that challenge viewers to reconsider their understanding of family, resilience, and personal transformation. The veteran support network we'd established had become a global movement. What had begun as a personal mission had expanded into a comprehensive support system that addressed the holistic needs of veterans worldwide. Mike Calloway, who had been instrumental in our initial fight, now led an international organization that provided mental health support, professional development, and family integration resources for veterans across multiple continents. Technology had become the primary vehicle of our continued transformation. Michael's initial software platform for transparent project management had evolved into a comprehensive ecosystem of accountability tools. Businesses around the world now use technologies he'd developed to ensure ethical practices, transparent operations, and genuine human-centric approaches to corporate culture. Our legal battle had become more than a personal story. It was now a landmark case studied in business schools, law programs, and corporate ethics courses worldwide. The precedent we'd set had fundamentally changed how corporations approach employee relationships, personal boundaries, and ethical considerations. The memories of Sarah and Greg had long since faded into irrelevance. Their attempt to destroy our family had ultimately become the catalyst for our greatest strengths. The betrayal that was meant to break us had instead forged us into something far more powerful than they could have ever imagined. Michael's work in sustainable construction had positioned him as a global thought leader. He was now advising international organizations on urban development, climate resilience, and sustainable infrastructure. Projects he'd developed were transforming cities in Africa, Asia, and South America, providing innovative solutions to complex environmental challenges. Emma's artistic journey had expanded into a global cultural movement. Her work was no longer just about personal expression, but about creating dialogue, challenging perspectives, and exploring the complex narratives of human experience. Museums and cultural institutions around the world sought her collections, not just as art, but as critical social commentary. Our veteran support network had become a comprehensive global initiative. The foundation now provided support that went far beyond traditional veteran services. Mental health programs, professional development resources, family integration support, and technological skill training had become cornerstone services for veterans worldwide. The technology Michael had developed continued to evolve at an unprecedented pace. His initial platforms for project management and corporate transparency had expanded into comprehensive ecosystems that addressed complex global challenges. Artificial intelligence, blockchain technologies, and advanced data analytics were now integral to the solutions he'd pioneered. Our family dynamic had become a model of modern connection and resilience. We'd learned that family is not defined by biological connections or traditional structures, but by chosen loyalty, mutual support, and unwavering commitment to each other's growth. The world had undergone massive transformations. Climate change, technological revolution, global political shifts had reshaped every aspect of human existence. Yet our core values remained unchanged: integrity, resilience, mutual support, and the belief that challenges are opportunities for growth. Michael's work had positioned him at the forefront of global sustainable development. His innovations were now critical in addressing some of the most pressing challenges facing human civilization: urban redesign, renewable energy solutions, climate adaptation strategies. His work went far beyond traditional construction. Emma's artistic journey had expanded into a global platform for social dialogue. Her exhibitions were no longer just art installations, but immersive experiences that challenged viewers to reconsider their understanding of human experience, resilience, and transformation. The Veteran Support Network we'd established had become a comprehensive global initiative. What had begun as a personal mission now provided holistic support for veterans worldwide, addressing mental health, professional development, technological skills training, and family integration. Reflecting on our journey, I understood that our true strength had never been about winning a legal battle or achieving professional success. Our victory was in how we had chosen to respond to betrayal, with creativity, integrity, and an unwavering commitment to growth and possibility. The technology and innovations Michael had developed continued to evolve at an unprecedented pace. What had begun as a response to corporate manipulation had transformed into comprehensive solutions, addressing global challenges. Artificial intelligence, advanced data analytics, and innovative technological ecosystems were now integral to solving complex human problems. Emma's artistic journey had become a global platform for social dialogue and cultural exploration. Her work went far beyond personal expression, creating immersive experiences that challenged viewers to reconsider their understanding of human experience, resilience, and transformation. As I watched Michael and Emma collaborating on a new global initiative, he providing sustainable development insights, she documenting the process through her art, I realized our story was a continuous evolution. We were still building, still growing, still transforming. The future stretched before us, a landscape of endless possibility, of continued growth, of hope that knew no boundaries. Our journey had become a testament to the power of resilience, of choosing growth over destruction, of transforming pain into possibility. We were not defined by what had been done to us, but by what we had chosen to become. 20 years had passed since that fateful day that had reshaped our entire existence. Standing on the deck of our family compound overlooking the Columbia River, I reflected on a journey that had transcended any single moment of pain or triumph. The world had transformed multiple times over, and we had transformed with it. Michael, now 40, had become a global icon of sustainable innovation. His work had expanded far beyond construction, addressing some of the most critical challenges facing human civilization. The technologies he'd developed were now integral to global efforts in urban redesign, climate adaptation, and sustainable infrastructure. Governments and international organizations sought his insights, his innovations becoming critical solutions to seemingly insurmountable global challenges. Emma, at 37, had evolved from an artist to a global cultural architect. Her work now bridged art, social commentary, technological innovation, and human rights advocacy. Museums, cultural institutions, and international platforms viewed her not just as an artist, but as a critical voice in understanding and reshaping human experience in the 21st century. Our Veteran Support Network had become a global transformative force. What had begun as a personal mission now influenced international policies, provided comprehensive support systems, and created innovative pathways for veterans' integration into civilian life. The organization we'd founded now operated across continents, addressing mental health, professional development, technological training, and holistic family support. The technology Michael had pioneered had become the backbone of global accountability systems. His initial platforms for transparent project management had evolved into comprehensive ecosystems that addressed complex global challenges. Artificial intelligence, blockchain technologies, advanced data analytics, all were now integral to the solutions he'd developed, transforming how businesses, governments, and organizations operated. Our legal battle had become more than a historical footnote. It was now a critical case study in corporate ethics, personal resilience, and systemic change. Business schools, law programs, and corporate training initiatives used our story as a fundamental example of how individual action can create widespread societal transformation. The memories of Sarah and Greg had long since become irrelevant. Their attempt to destroy our family had instead become the catalyst for our most significant achievements. The betrayal that was meant to break us had instead forged a path of innovation, resilience, and global impact that far exceeded any personal conflict. Michael's work in sustainable development had positioned him as a global thought leader. He was now advising the United Nations, leading international task forces on climate adaptation, urban redesign, and sustainable infrastructure. Projects he'd developed were transforming entire regions, providing innovative solutions to complex environmental and social challenges. Emma's artistic journey had expanded into a global platform for social transformation. Her work was no longer confined to museums or galleries. She now created immersive experiences that addressed critical global challenges, using art as a medium to explore climate change, social justice, technological ethics, and human resilience. The Veteran Support Network we'd established had become a comprehensive global initiative. Beyond traditional support services, the organization now provided advanced technological training, mental health resources, entrepreneurship programs, and comprehensive family integration support for veterans worldwide. Technology continued to be the primary vehicle of our ongoing transformation. The platforms and innovations Michael had developed were now critical infrastructure for global accountability, sustainable development, and human-centric technological solutions. Artificial intelligence, blockchain, advanced data analytics had become tools for addressing complex global challenges. Our family dynamic had become a model of modern connection, resilience, and purposeful living. We'd learned that family is not defined by traditional structures, but by chosen loyalty, mutual support, shared purpose, and an unwavering commitment to growth and positive global impact. The world had undergone multiple revolutionary transformations. Climate change, technological revolution, global political shifts, pandemics, and unprecedented technological innovations had reshaped every aspect of human existence. Yet our core values remained unchanged: integrity, resilience, mutual support, and the belief that challenges are opportunities for profound transformation. Michael's innovations now address some of the most critical challenges facing human civilization. Urban redesign that could adapt to rapidly changing environmental conditions, renewable energy solutions that could transform entire economic systems, climate adaptation strategies that could protect vulnerable populations. His work had become essential to human survival and progress. Emma's artistic journey had expanded into a global platform for social dialogue and cultural transformation. Her work was no longer just about personal expression, but about creating immersive experiences that challenged viewers to reconsider their understanding of human potential, technological ethics, social justice, and collective resilience. The Veteran Support Network we'd established had become a global force for positive transformation. What had begun as a personal mission now influenced international policies, provided comprehensive support systems, and created innovative pathways for veterans' integration, mental health support, and technological empowerment. Reflecting on our journey, I understood that our true strength had never been about winning a legal battle or achieving professional success. Our victory was in how we had chosen to respond to betrayal, with creativity, integrity, purposeful innovation, and an unwavering commitment to positive global impact. As I watched Michael and Emma collaborating on a new global initiative, he providing sustainable development insights, she creating an immersive artistic experience documenting the process. I realized our story was a continuous evolution. We were still building, still growing, still transforming. The future stretched. Before us, a landscape of endless possibility, of continued growth, of hope that knew no boundaries. Our journey had become a testament to the power of resilience, of choosing growth over destruction, of transforming personal pain into collective possibility. We were not defined by what had been done to us, but by what we had chosen to become. Architects of hope, agents of transformation, creators of a future that extended far beyond our individual stories. 25 years had passed since that moment that had redefined our entire existence. As I stood on the precipice of my 70th year, the landscape of our journey stretched before me, a testament to resilience, transformation, and the extraordinary potential of the human spirit. Michael, now 45, had become a global visionary whose work transcended traditional boundaries of innovation and social impact. His sustainable development technologies had fundamentally reshaped how humanity approached environmental challenges, urban living, and technological integration. Governments, international organizations, and cutting-edge research institutions looked to him as a primary architect of human survival and progress. Emma, at 42, had evolved into a global cultural philosopher. Her work was no longer confined to artistic expression, but had become a comprehensive platform for social transformation. Museums, academic institutions, and international forums sought her insights on human adaptation, technological ethics, and the complex narrative of human potential in an increasingly complex world. The veteran support network we'd established had transformed into a global ecosystem of support, innovation, and human empowerment. What had begun as a personal mission now influenced international policy, provided comprehensive support systems, and created innovative pathways for veterans' integration, mental health support, and technological empowerment across multiple continents. Michael's technological innovations had become the foundational infrastructure of global sustainability efforts. The platforms he'd developed were now critical to addressing climate change, urban resilience, technological ethics, and human-centric innovation. Artificial intelligence, quantum computing, advanced biotechnology, all were now integrated into solutions that addressed the most complex challenges facing human civilization. Our legal battle, now a distant memory, had become a critical case. Study in corporate ethics, personal resilience, and systemic transformation. Business schools, leadership programs, and social innovation platforms used our story as a fundamental example of how individual action can create widespread societal change. The memories of Sarah and Greg had long since faded into historical irrelevance. Their attempt to destroy our family had instead become the catalyst for a journey of innovation and global impact that far exceeded the scope of any personal conflict. The betrayal that was meant to break us had instead forged a path of unprecedented possibility. Michael's work in sustainable development and technological innovation had positioned him as a global thought leader, addressing some of the most critical challenges facing human survival. His technologies were now integral to global efforts in climate adaptation, renewable energy, urban redesign, and human-centric technological solutions. International task forces, governmental bodies, and global research institutions relied on his insights and innovations. Emma had transformed the concept of artistic expression into a comprehensive platform for global dialogue and social transformation. Her work now existed at the intersection of art, technology, social justice, and human potential. Immersive experiences she created challenged viewers to reconsider fundamental assumptions about human existence, technological ethics, and collective potential. The Veteran Support Network we'd established had become a comprehensive global initiative that addressed the holistic needs of veterans worldwide. Beyond traditional support services, the organization now provided advanced technological training, mental health resources, entrepreneurship programs, and comprehensive support systems that address the complex challenges of veterans' integration and empowerment. Technology continued to be the primary vehicle of our ongoing transformation. The platforms and innovations Michael had developed were now critical infrastructure for global accountability, sustainable development, and human-centric technological solutions. Quantum computing, advanced artificial intelligence, biotechnological innovations, all had become tools for addressing complex global challenges. Our family dynamic had become a model of modern connection, purposeful living, and collective impact. We'd learned that family is not defined by traditional structures, but by chosen loyalty, mutual support, shared purpose, and an unwavering commitment to growth and positive global transformation. The world had undergone multiple revolutionary transformations: climate change, technological revolution, global political shifts, pandemics, and unprecedented technological innovations had reshaped every aspect of human existence. Yet our core values remained unchanged: integrity, resilience, mutual support, and the belief that challenges are opportunities for profound transformation. Michael's innovations now addressed existential challenges facing human civilization. Technologies for climate adaptation, renewable energy solutions, urban redesign strategies, biotechnological innovations. His work had become essential to human survival, progress, and collective potential. Emma's journey had expanded into a global platform for social dialogue, cultural transformation, and human potential. Her work created immersive experiences that challenged viewers to reconsider fundamental assumptions about human existence, technological ethics, social justice, and collective resilience. The Veteran Support Network we'd established had become a global force for positive transformation. What had begun as a personal mission now influenced international policies, provided comprehensive support systems, and created innovative pathways for veterans' integration, mental health support, and technological empowerment. Reflecting on our journey, I understood that our true strength had never been about winning a legal battle or achieving professional success. Our victory was in how we had chosen to respond to betrayal, with creativity, integrity, purposeful innovation, and an unwavering commitment to positive global impact. As I watched Michael and Emma collaborating on a new global initiative, he providing sustainable development insights, she creating an immersive artistic experience documenting human potential, I realized our story was a continuous evolution. We were still building, still growing, still transforming. The future stretched before us, a landscape of endless possibility, of continued growth, of hope that knew no boundaries. Our journey had become a testament to the power of resilience, of choosing growth over destruction, of transforming personal pain into collective possibility. We were not defined by what had been done to us, but by what we had chosen to become. Architects of hope, agents of transformation, creators of a future that extended far beyond our individual stories. As the sun set over the Columbia River, casting long shadows across the landscape we'd transformed, I understood that our greatest legacy was not in our individual achievements, but in the possibility we'd created for others to find their own path of resilience, innovation, and hope. 30 years had passed since that pivotal moment that had reshaped our entire existence. As I approached my 75th year, the journey of our family stood as a testament to the extraordinary power of human resilience, transformation, and purposeful living. Michael, now 50, had become more than a global innovator. He was a visionary architect of human potential. His work had transcended technological innovation, becoming a fundamental approach to addressing the most critical challenges facing human civilization. Governments, international organizations, and global research institutions viewed him as a primary architect of human survival and collective progress. Emma, at 47, had evolved into a global cultural philosopher whose work defined the intersection of art, technology, social justice, and human potential. Her immersive experiences and critical insights had transformed how societies understood creativity, innovation, and collective human experience. International platforms, academic institutions, and global forums sought her wisdom as a critical lens for understanding our rapidly changing world. The veteran support network we'd established had become a global ecosystem of empowerment, innovation, and human potential. What had begun as a personal mission now represented a comprehensive global initiative that influenced international policy, provided advanced support systems, and created innovative pathways for veterans' integration, mental health support, and technological empowerment across multiple continents. Our technological infrastructure had become the foundational framework for global sustainability and human progress. The platforms Michael developed were now critical to addressing complex global challenges: climate adaptation, technological ethics, human-centric innovation, and collective survival. Quantum computing, advanced artificial intelligence, biotechnological innovations had become tools for addressing existential challenges. The legal battle that had once defined our story had transformed into a critical case study of personal resilience and systemic change. Business schools, leadership programs, and social innovation platforms used our narrative as a fundamental example of how individual action can create widespread societal transformation. The memories of Sarah and Greg had long since dissolved into historical irrelevance. Their attempt to destroy our family had instead become the catalyst for a journey of innovation and global impact that far exceeded the scope of any personal conflict. The betrayal that was meant to break us had instead forged a path of unprecedented
Fredden bit of en fördenstödlen, så det reflekterade i ons hitströter och så just med den där sure what så med okej ramse.
What had begun as a moment of profound personal betrayal had become a story of collective hope, innovation, and human potential. Michael's technologies had reshaped how humanity approached environmental challenges, urban living, and technological integration. Emma's work had become a critical platform for understanding human experience in an increasingly complex world. The veteran support network we'd established had become a comprehensive global initiative that addressed the holistic needs of veterans worldwide. Beyond traditional support services, the organization now provided advanced technological training, mental health resources, entrepreneurship programs, and comprehensive support systems that address the complex challenges of veterans' integration and empowerment. Our family dynamic had become a model of modern connection, purposeful living, and collective impact. We'd learned that family is not defined by traditional structures, but by chosen loyalty, mutual support, shared purpose, and an unwavering commitment to growth and positive global transformation. As I prepared to share our final reflections, I understood that our story was never just about personal survival. It was about the extraordinary potential of human resilience, the power of choosing growth over destruction, the ability to transform personal pain into collective possibility. To every listener who has followed our journey, every person who has faced betrayal, challenge, or seemingly insurmountable obstacles, I offer this final message. Your story is not defined by what happens to you, but by how you choose to respond. Every challenge is an opportunity for transformation. Every moment of pain can be a catalyst for extraordinary growth. Our journey began with a betrayal that was meant to destroy us. Instead, it became the foundation for global impact, for technological innovation, for a deeper understanding of human potential. If you found hope in our story, if you've been inspired by our journey, I invite you to subscribe to our channel. Share this story with someone who needs to hear that resilience is possible, that transformation is within reach, that your greatest chapters are often written in response to your most challenging moments. To Michael and Emma, to our veteran support network, to every person who has been part of this extraordinary journey, thank you for showing the world the true meaning of resilience. Our story is far from over, and neither is yours. Hit that subscribe button, share this journey, and remember, your greatest transformation is always just beginning.